guys. I really didn't mean to or expect to be doing another one of these or highlighting Little Witch Academia again because I think everybody knows at this point that it's amazing. You should go watch it. Um, but I just had to because I had a couple things to say, and there was some great stuff in this episode. And now that we see a little bit more about the progression of the series and what it's attempting to do, we can get a bit more insight into a couple of the directing tricks. I just wanted to highlight those in episode 3 of Little Witch Academia. So, I guess spoilers, but it's an episodic series. I don't know. Akko can't fly on her broomstick. Ooh, spoilers. Whoa. Um, so this is the scene here that really makes the best use of what I'm about to talk about. And so the girls laughing at Akko putting training wheels on her broom, and then there's this quick cut right here to Ursula Sensei looking down on the others. Now, first and foremost, I think this is one of the things that kind of stood out to me most about the episode is that there's a rule in cinematography where it's called the 180-degree rule that you can't flip the sides of something. Like you can't have one character on the right and then another character on the left, and then in the very next shot switch those two characters' positions. You can't flip the camera around behind it. And this in a way does break this, and a lot of this episode does break this 180-degree rule. And I'm not sure whether it's unintentional or it's consciously trying to give us, it gives a sort of whirling effect that the camera's whipping around. So in the previous shot, here we're looking at this 2D plane of Akko and then the two girls behind her laughing at her. And then here, we've kind of, the 180-degree plane, you can see with my mouse here, is right here, what we were looking at in the last shot. But now we've broken that, we've come across it, and we're looking over Ursula's right shoulder. And that's kind of awkward and kind of jarring, but that's not really what I want to talk about. So we come back across. You see, we were over her right shoulder, and now we're back across, looking down. She's looking down. That's just set up for the next shot, which cuts. It doesn't cut back to Akko. It immediately cuts to her slamming her hand there. And I think this cut, or something like this cut happens so often in Little Witch Academia. Like in the last episode when we talked about her boot stomping down on the thing and it kind of whoosh, like a impact, cutting to an impact, and that makes it feel energetic and lively. And the fact that there's no return shot to them or a simple transition or like an establishing shot to transition, it makes it feel like things are happening real fast, that you get a lot in the show, that a lot happens during the show, because you're just cutting from one thing to another, and maybe the scenes themselves have kind of lulls in the action, but the transitions are never used for the lulls in the action. So we cut right to the slam on Akko's hand. And then they're standing exactly where Shiny Chariot was there. Well, spoilers, God. Ursula Sensei was standing. So, it's putting. This is really cool that it's putting Akko in the same position that Ursula was just in. And that's sort of the whole thing about Ursula seeing a lot of herself in Akko and the last shot of episode 3 and the whole thing about her wanting to train her. And it's that Akko is very much what uh, Shining Chariot was when she was the in the school and younger. Um, and that nice little shot there where she's doing exactly the same thing as she looks down on the get a lot's line here. As Akko looks down on the other kids in much the same way that Ursula just did. Now here's the real directing thing that I keep noticing here is that NPC kind of stutters here. Is that they'll move and pan the camera and uh, do lots of zooms in a way that most anime don't. Stuff like this, where the witch flies by and then it kind of cuts back up here. So there's a movement to your eyes when the witch flies out of the screen. Then you have to refocus, and the camera moves down and then back up again in sort of this bouncing circular kind of motion. Here, if you watch it, let's just watch it. That it's going down and left and then swooping around and then coming back up. It was like a big loop that the camera just took. Um, and that again is giving that kind of whirling motion and see the zooms out and things. It's Little Witch Academia is never just putting two people on screen and letting them talk, or rarely. It's always endeavoring to find some sort of motion or some background that's going on and zooming in and out. But here's another point that I wanted to make about um, about Little Witch Academia. So Akko in this episode, she never or she often turns her back to, like, literally turns her back on the people she's talking to. Like we have shots of behind them, like just their backs, which is never interesting. Is not really something you would want to showcase, but it happens like 3 or 4 or 5 times this episode. And it's something that she's been doing quite a lot over the past 3 episodes, is that she's been focused on whatever the cool thing, the shining chariot, or the magic, or whatever, and not on the people that she's around. Like, she blows off Ursula Sensei twice, I think, in this episode, when she gives her the book and when she gives her the broom. And she blows off a lot until, wait for it, wait for it, until she says, see, look, she's not looking at Lot. She doesn't care about Lot. She cares about the fantasy and the witch cool stuff. And that's kind of what I see the show going for. And the ultimate theme of the show is going to be the traditional magical girl-esque theme. Go see my Grace and Glamour presentation. Um, where she's going to be admiring the fantasy and wrapped up in the fantasy and the glamour, and then she's going to slowly come to realize that the grace of the in being around the people she is around and the value of friendship and you are not alone and all that jazz is going to triumph, which is why I consider it a magical girl show. Irregardless, we're talking about her being enraptured by the glamour here. Until she says Magic Item Cafe. Look at that. Until she says Magic Item Cafe. And then that's got Akko's attention. It's not because Akko wants to help Lot out with her task because she's a cool friend and she really, she'd go to the laundromat with Lot just because she likes Lot. No, she wants to go see the Magic Item Cafe. And then and Lot understands. Lot understands. And she appreciates her. And this happens once again here. Let's get back to the intro. Yep. Look at that. Right? Right? The same type of thing. Why is, again, a shot of Akko's back looking at the magical item and the glamorous thing instead of understanding what Ursula is trying to do? She's kind of awkward, Ursula. She's trying to be her mentor and try and, help her out. But Akko doesn't care for any of that, or she doesn't have the awareness enough to appreciate that. And that kind of crushes Ursula Sensei in this one. And she does it again with the book later on. She does. Yeah, she's she comes in, but then she takes the book and just bails on Ursula. She doesn't even She doesn't even appreciate her. See, it's that type of thing. And, that's that's not even subtext, I guess. That's what the show, I guess it's subtext. But it's really what the show is trying to set up right now, that Akko is far too overwhelmed with the fact that she actually got into this magic academy and that magic's real, and then she'll get to be a witch like Shiny Chariot, that she's not really being a good person or a good friend or a good student or enabling other people. And that's, boy, I bet $1 billion that that's where this is going to go, because it sets up these things like showing Akko's back and everything. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. That really cool directing where it's kind of flowing fluid from one thing into another. Um, and then there's a bit of it here too. Um, Yeah, see, starting at that shot down of the teacher and then kind of zooming out to show Amanda on her broom. Um, Schrodinger's panties. Anyway, framing the action with the action that happened before it. That's a really cool trick. Again, you'll see it here. Diana whips past all the other witches, and then it continues back to her. Shot of Diana, shot of the reaction of the witches, back to Diana. Um, it's got some really cool camera movement, I think, or the illusion of camera movement in this show. And then just the fact that Akko's character arc being established the way it is, with her purposefully ignoring, or not purposefully, but ignoring the other people, um, and focusing a little too much on, I would guess, what you would call the wrong things. That's that's where the show is right now. And that, just the fact that it's doing that so well, man, consistently impressed by the show. Very consistently impressed. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be something else that'll blow my mind. Hopefully, I thought the show would turn a little killy. It would kind of meander, but it looks like, from what I've said, that it's focused, and that makes me supremely excited, if not a bit cautious, to want to be heard again. But man, impressive show. Anyway,